Nate, what's going on, man? WWE's Mike Rome here. Before I get into it, I just want to say congratulations, man. 5 years as a podcaster. That's crazy. That's a long time. That's a lot of dedication, honestly. I gotta be honest. I have tried to do the podcasting thing and try and invest time in YouTube and stuff, and I just couldn't stick to it. So props on the 5 years. That is super impressive, actually. Hopefully it's been good and successful, and you're getting everything you want out of it. You know what I mean? I appreciate the love. Like your 5 years. I'm actually almost at 5 years with the WWE ring announcing. So yeah, man, time flies. Even just saying that right now, I'm like, wow, has it already been that long? That's insane. So I'm gonna try to piece this together, make it make sense, so you can have it and make it official. I'll tell you what. I'll give you the G version, and then we'll space it, and then I think I can get away with Evan. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it sounds. I'll tell you what, and you can use whichever one. All right. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 5 years as a podcaster, introducing Nate the Great. So we'll do that, and then I'll do one with the other way. Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 5 years as a podcaster, Nate the effing Great. Enjoy, man. Here's to 5 more years to you, and if I ever come across you in person, make sure you say, "What's up?" All right, dude. Peace out.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to change the landscape of podcasting as you know it in professional wrestling. This is the Game Changer Podcast. Featuring the greatest asset to come out of Canada, the legendary Mr. Fretz.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I love myself. There's something so condescending to the champ to get out of my ring. They think they got the answers. I change the questions. I did it all by my sweet little self. 2-time Slammy Award winner. I knew it. I'm a winner. I did it. Woo!
As well as featuring yours truly, the Game Changer, Nate the effing Great.
I've had it. It's time for you to start listening to somebody else, and that somebody else is going to be me, and it's going to be right now. The dirty secret is you need this generation more than it needs you. You're not going to come out here and talk about how it should have been you, it should have been me, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you, it should have been you 8 years ago, and it was kind of, then it wasn't, and it's not going to be again, and it's not going to happen. Just get over it. I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even in commentary. Nobody can touch me.
We change the game one day at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ready, let's do this.
It's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Mal. You are listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Sending lots of love from California. Mwah.
Gore! Welcome to this edition of the Game Changer Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. As part of Wrestle Addict Radio, I am NateFNGreat, the man that reminds you that, hey, it takes more than just a little hug to make a spear look good, and Rhino can definitely prove us on that. I'm being joined here by the Prime Minister, the Ambassador, whatever he likes to call himself. He's from Canada. We love him. It is Mr. Fretz.
It is I, the now essential Mr. Fretz.
Yes.
And the newest employee of Nook Incorporated. Animal Crossing fans, shout out. Never played the game of the series, downloaded it the other day, and I've literally played it nonstop since yesterday. Since, I finally have a little time off. I'm tired. You all know I'm in grocery, and with this whole word that we can't say because we'll get demonetized on YouTube, just call it Steve Carino. Shout out to Cultaholic for that one. Yeah, I'm tired. I got a can of Busch. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, this whole deal where it's like, hey, would you like a Corona? It's just crazy, and it's getting worse. And right now in America, we have surpassed China as far as cases for this deal. But hey, on the plus side, I don't think it includes Mexico and Canada, so maybe it's just the good old United States, because we do nothing wrong. Yeah.
Except for obesity, and I can't talk because I'm fat with a capital at. So, yeah, it's just the states. Our prime minister up here is, I think, well, in my county, we've declared a state of emergency, but that's just like, I think it's essential travel, and it's a little hard because, I live on a beach. This is on the cusp of tourist season, and we have a lot of snowbirds up here. So some of these people live in Florida, California, Costa Rica, whatever, for the winter. And they said, and our mayor, God bless her, is just saying, nope, go right into quarantine. Don't go to the grocery store, especially the one that I work at, and we'll take care of you. Like at my work, we are collecting orders to do delivery, just like porch delivery for the quarantine, for the elderly, for the, let's just say, one of my friends just had a baby. She doesn't want to pop in the store. Don't blame her. Yeah, this sucks, and the Steve Carino just gave us another nail in the coffin for this shit, man.
Yeah, it certainly did. But you know something? We're gonna look past this, and we're gonna look at the positives. And what better way to do a positive than to do another game-changing wrestling moment? And guys, it ties in with one of our favorite retro reviews that we did last year before we joined the Wrestle Addict radio deal. We're going to be talking about the Raw before WrestleMania X7. Now, for those of you that haven't seen our retro, definitely check it out on our Patreon. For this week, it's nothing but free, because we love you, because we know money is tight, and, well, it's because we love you. That's the main thing. Or as Bruce Pritchard would say, we love you.
I'm watching X7 on mute as we speak, so because it's my all-time favorite Mania, my all-time favorite pay-per-view. I rewatch it all the time, and okay, that was weird. I must have nicked my PS4 controller because Chris Jericho and Regal were wrestling. Then all of a sudden, here's Raven. That's like two matches. That's two matches down the card. That's one of my favorite matches of the night, low key, by the way. Raven, Kane, and Big Show. Such a car crash.
It's a beautiful car crash, though. We're gonna say right now. So here's the interesting thing about this. This was an idea that was brought to my attention by the one and only Mr. Fretz, and we thought it might be kind of cool to do a little bit of a mini retro deal for this deal, in which we talk about the Raw before WrestleMania. But there was another show that took place on the same night. And what show might that be, Mr. Fretz?
That would be the final Nitro. This is the Nitro Raw simulcast, the night that Vince McMahon bought WCW. I now own WCW. I bought my own competition. And the very fate of WCW is in my hands. Classic promo to start things off. I wasn't, keen to the smart, mark, whatever, I'll say internet side of pro wrestling at this point. But I knew WCW was, ask Mance. How did you do it, bro? And selfishly, I'm kind of bummed he didn't get to finish the era. But, I understand, circumstances as to why and how. Mance, I love you. And also, do you drink? And what did you drink to watch this? Because I've been watching a bit of old WCW for the 20 bell salute as well. Also, I did stealth drop that last night. The 20-year look back on wrestling and pop culture each month. This one was interesting because it included Beyond the Mat and WrestleMania 2000, not to be confused with the N64 game or the Game Boy Color game.
Oh, yeah. I did forget that was a thing. But, yeah, maybe we'll have to talk about some game-changing video games in wrestling in the future podcast. I think it'd be kind of fun. Oh,
gosh, yes. No Mercy. Let's go.
I think it's a spoiler that No Mercy is going to be on the list. So, all right. It's going to be interesting kind of talking about this. So how should we go about doing this? Should we just go segment by segment, kind of going seeing how these things kind of coexist with each other and then kind of build up? Okay. I'm getting the nod from Fretz, so I guess that's what we'll be doing. If it's all right with you, Fretz, I'll start off because WWF is the one that brought it out. First thing that we actually see here is Vince McMahon announcing at the top of the hour that he owns WCW. And he has 2 TVs in his office. He's got one for WWF. He's got one for WCW. And the first thing that he sees on the WCW screen is Jeff Jarrett. And he decides to very methodically say to him that he's going to be GOONE. Gone. I can't understand why he hates Jeff Jarrett. It's weird. I don't know. It's just bizarre. They get the nice opening package, and I'll kind of stop right there because then it goes right into the first segment. But I don't want to go too deep into that because I think Fretz, you should take over. What kind of started off this final edition of World Class Wrestling?
Well, of WCW, of course, formerly the NWA, we started off with Tony Schiavone and Scott Hudson on commentary, just kind of being like, Ed's bought WCW. We don't know what's going on. He is concerned about the future. And this is dubbed the Night of Champions, not to be confused with another pay-per-view that was down the line, but I do believe, WCW did Clash of the Champions for specials on TBS. It's like, this is our last night of wrestling on Turner, and full circle 20 years later, where is Tony Schiavone? He is doing wrestling on Turner. Where's Scott Hudson, I wonder? I hope he's doing okay. So, if there's anybody who embodied World Championship Wrestling, it was Ric Flair. And who starts off but Ric Flair coming out with a promo? Just his classic. This is not much classic Flair because he was just recovering from that buzz cut because he had a hair versus hair match against Bischoff.
Oh, that's right.
And I think that's when David Flair turned on him. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Mance, please send me what you drank in the mail, or just tell me so I can order it. So, Flair, did I? Woo! Did I happen to hear Vince? I can't do impersonations other than Vince, maybe, just so you know. Right. Is holding WCW in his hands? Are you going to hold Jack Briscoe, Dory Funk, the Road Warriors, Sting, Luger, Steiners, Bagwell, Flair, Steamboat? Of course he does the whole starting to take off his jacket, strutting around the ropes. He's like, I didn't think so. And I'm looking at the crowd. It's like, everyone's drunk. They don't care. These are students on spring break. I think I read something about this being borderline free or something like $5-10 just to get in the door. It's like, spring break, and you're in the Redneck Riviera, as Vince lovingly put it, in I think it's Panama Springs, Florida, something like that. So he's in there and he's just taking off his coat, blah blah blah, and then he starts talking about Sting. If there's anybody else who embodied World Championship Wrestling other than the Horseman and Flair, it was the Stinger. So he challenges Sting, one more match. This is how we're going to close off the show. This is how we're going to end the WCW era, is with one more match with Flair and Sting. And I'm just going to say this now. I watched this on the network, and I used to have, I think I taped it live on VHS. What's a VHS, Mr. Fretz? Google it, kids. And a lot of the entrance themes here are dubbed. Oh, and one of them was Sting. At this point, Sting was using one of my all-time favorite songs, Seek and Destroy by Metallica. And do we get Seek and Destroy on the network? No, we get the Crow theme, which is fine, but it's not Metallica. So, challenging here, we had a Slim Jim ad, and then it's like, brought to you by WCW Spring Breakout 2001 and America Online 6.0. All these crowd people, like, we love you, WCW. It's like, you were paid in margaritas to say that. I can tell you don't mean it, lady. Yep. And, this is the next match here, so on to your segment, bro.
All right. So we kicked off the first segment after the pyro and the intro and stuff like that with the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. My apologies. So Kurt comes out and he basically talks about how, the big news coming out of this that everybody wants to know is, why does Kurt Angle not have a match at WrestleMania? And everybody is just in shock because Kurt Angle last year was the Eurocontinental champion. So it's like, well, what's he going to do this year? And he was thinking, I'll probably just, sit out, just enjoy it. Not so fast, Mr. Angle. Out comes Chris Benoit, who comes out and says that you claim that you're the best. Well, I think that I'm the best, so I think that we need to decide this at WrestleMania. Kurt Angle's just like, okay, we'll do that. A nice little brawl ensues between the two of them. Kurt goes for the ankle lock, and then Benoit counters into the crossface. Kurt is just tapping out like crazy. And Paul Heyman, oh my gosh. He has some gems in this Raw, and this was one of my favorites of him just freaking out about Kurt Angle just tapping out. But then out came Edge and Christian. They try to break things off, try to interrupt this whole entire deal. Benoit kind of fends them off, and they just talk about the build-up between Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. It's like, oh wow. And to be honest, I didn't know that this was a match that they only made like 6 days in advance. But in all honesty, it turned out to be one of the best matches on the card, which it was no surprise. We get a segment backstage where Trish and Vince, they're backstage, they're watching WCW before Vince McMahon goes to the first ever simulcast, where he will make a big announcement about the future of WCW. And he's basically talking with Stephanie on the phone, saying like, oh no, you and Hunter just enjoy the night off, enjoy your time off to relax, and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. Talk about, I'll see you on Monday, I'll see you on Sunday, and blah blah blah. That whole deal, just whatever. Michael Cole, he tries to talk to Deborah, who says that doesn't want to talk about what's going on with Stone Cold. That would go into the first matchup of the night, but we're going to stop here because I'm going to pass over to Mr. Fretz, because what did WCW have to offer in action here on their final night?
Well, they started off this with a title unification match. The United States champion, Booker T, going up against the WCW World Champion, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Godspeed, Steiner, get well soon. I think we've heard he was at a house show, an indie show, and I think he collapsed or something, but he's been recovering.
That's good.
So God bless the big bad booty daddy. So all the best. He won't hear this. He doesn't know we exist. But, you know, we can still send the love and get blocked on Twitter.
Oh, of course.
And then we have Booker T's classic, you know, but it started off with, don't hate the player, hate the game. 2 years later at WrestleMania 19.
Let's not talk about that.
No. Did we review that? I think we did, or I did. I can't remember.
I think you did.
Anyways,
anyway.
I did. Fretzelmania podcast, Anchor FM, cheap plug. So this match was actually kind of boring. It's what you would expect out of Steiner and Booker T. Booker T is just carrying this match. You know, at this point in time, Scott Steiner was just so inflated that he couldn't even move. Like he could flex and hit the elbow, but do you remember how Andre the Giant hit his elbow drop near the end of his career?
I think so.
He would just kind of saunter and lean down.
Oh.
It kind of reminded me of an Andre elbow.
Oh, God.
Like, in his prime, Scott Steiner was a damn good worker, and by the time he became the big bad booty daddy, it just wasn't there. Like, the lesser said about his WWE run, the better, but mind you, he was dealing with several injuries, like, I don't know if it was not club, it was something with his foot, not club foot, but anyways. So we see the Steiner line, we see the flexing elbow, and we see Scott Steiner's classic Shane Douglas-esque belly-to-belly suplex, just the master of that move right there. He was kind of a human suplex machine, no offense, Taz. We see the axe kick, but at this time they call it the Ghetto Blaster, which is what Bad News Brown called his Enziguri finisher. Rest in peace, Bad News. That just took me back for a second. And we saw something I didn't know existed in WCW. The Spinneroonie.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. As I said, I was watching WCW right up until the end. But I forgot about it. So we saw a Harlem Sidekick, or the 110th Street Kick, which was what they called the Harlem Heat finisher. And then there's a bookend reversed into a Northern Light suplex, and then a bookend, and your new unified champion, your four-time WCW champion, Booker T. And then there is a 1-800-COLLECT ad. Hey kids, remember 1-800-COLLECT? Yeah, I totally used it. We see a bargain bin spring break. They're just plugging the crap out of this college-ass, American Pie-esque spring bake thing. And we see Vince on the phone, and this is my next match. So, on to you, brah.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the human suplex machine, because he was actually the first match on this card. It would be Taz going one-on-one against Val Venus, although I'm going to call him Chief Sean Morley for the sake of the fact that was what he probably went by during the Right to Censor deal.
No, Val Venus.
He was still Val Venus in the Right to Censor? I'm still going to call him Morley just because of the sake that this is not Val Venus. That's just me, though. So this matchup is basically dubbed as a lumberjack match, where the Right to Censor could be at ringside, but also Taz's partners, the APA, would be at ringside as well. It just goes into massive chaos. Everybody just hitting each other, blah, blah, blah. Steven Richards hits Taz with a super kick. We see Sean Morley go for the money shot, but misses. Taz hits a Northern Light suplex for the 1-2-3. Very quick matchup. It's done and done. I think the less said about this matchup, the better. It was just kind of a blink of an eye. You probably wouldn't miss anything kind of match. Then we go into a backstage segment where Regal and Vince are just talking to each other. We see I dubbed him as Creepy Vince to Trish. I think this is where he's basically getting fed like strawberries by Trish and stuff like that. It's just one of those things where it's like, just kids, go to bed. But Daddy, go to bed. This is one of those things where it's like, you don't need to see this. They actually had a little hype package for the XFL. So they actually talked about one of the quarterbacks Tommy Maddox, and they just hyped it up their next XFL game. So I thought that was kind of cool. Nice little first full circle moment for you, Mr. Fretz. They did a WrestleMania recall from the previous year's WrestleMania, from WrestleMania 2000, which I believe you actually did a little bit of a brief deal, I think, for your 20 bell salute for that one.
That is correct.
Well, cheap plug there. They showcased the whole Pete Rose deal, where we see Kane. He's going after the chicken, and everybody's like, "Oh, nope, it's Pete Rose. It's Pete Rose. Here comes Pete Rose with a baseball bat. Why not?" Rikishi grabs it, Pete Rose gets chokeslammed, and then he gets the stink face. Pete Rose, one of the most deserving members of the Hall of Fame, just for all the abuse that he took from Kane for 3 consecutive years. Fight me on that. I dare anybody at this point. So they start hyping up the gimmick battle royal, and how do they do that? Well, they have Doink the Clown. He's in the audience, just playing around with people, and we see Paul Heyman. He is just crapping on this gimmick battle royal. He literally right out says, like, it's a gimmick battle. What is it? It is exactly what you think it is. It's a gimmick battle royal. The gobbledygooker. He's just mocking everybody. Gobbledygooker. Michael Hayes, which I think is really funny when you think about it. Just Paul Heyman on commentary is just absolutely amazing. Why don't we have more of these moments? Especially nowadays, I would love to see him just cut down Jerry Lawler as well as who else is on there? Is it Tom Phillips and Vic Joseph on commentary on Raw?
Yeah, and I think Saxton's doing some commentary too. So,
okay.
No, Saxton's on Raw because last week when it was 316 day, it's like Austin's like, I want to have a beer with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Give me a hell yeah. Oh, empty PC Center. And Saxton, hell yeah. Just, you're so corny, bro. I love you.
So Byron Saxton became one of the more annoying people to one of the people that everybody just loves to see be an idiot. But yeah, this would go into the next matchup, which I will not go into because we have ourselves another match in WCW, I do believe.
Wait, right to censor alert.
Oh, no.
No. And I think I know what match we're talking about because right now I have Test and Eddie Guerrero. What a match. And God, I miss them both so much. Anyways here, this is a number 1 contender match for the new Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship. Now, this was a very new... This title, I think, just debuted, in March 01. And there is a certain wrestler who is in WWE today who is in this division. Can you name him?
Is it Billy Kidman?
He's in this match, but he doesn't count because he's a producer.
Oh,
he is someone who spent a lot of years not in the WWE, and he debuted a few years ago. I won't say where because it'll completely spoil who he is.
Okay.
And he is performing at WrestleMania.
He's performing at WrestleMania this year.
Someone who spent years not in the company.
Years not in the company. Jeez Louise. Oh, jeez. I can't believe my mind is going blank on this. I feel so bad right now. And, DDP?
No.
Oh, AJ Styles. Oh, my God.
Yeah, AJ Styles tagged with a guy named Air Paris. They were called Air Raid or something. I think one match they actually came out in friggin' Goose Top Gun outfits.
Oh, jeez.
I think, yeah, WCW folks, and oh my gosh, what a move! But Eddie goes for the Hurricanrana and just misses. So we have Young Dragons of Kaz Hayashi and Jimmy Wang Yang. 3 count, represented by Shannon Moore and Evan Courageous, and the Filthy Animals of Billy Kidman and an unmasked Rey Mysterio in devil horns for some reason. There's a whole bunch of bad network dubs here. 3 count, they were like the NSYNC of WCW. They had the boy band gimmick. It was crap, but it was fun crap. Like, I remember I was 16, 17 at this time, and I was going to say this verbatim for the time, but it was considered the G word to like boy bands if you were a dude. So I'm just going to not say it, but you know what I mean. Different time. So I love the gimmick. I didn't like the boy bands, although there was a song that came out in 01 that I secretly liked, but also because my girlfriend at the time liked. So, wanted to do that. Bunch of bad network dubs, despite the fact that the Filthy Animals and 3 Count recorded their own songs. They're just not copyright protection by WWE, I guess. And then there is... Why did I write... Okay, I wrote down X Factor, but I think I was singing the song in my head or listening to our X7 review when I was doing this at the same time. Then there's the... Oh, no, the X Factor. No, it's the friggin' Facebuster. Yeah, Evan Courageous does the Facebuster. He does, like, a little call me taunt. Yang hits a drop kick, and he does the friggin', like... Then he adds, like, a little dance to it, and I'm just like, I can tell why you became one of the Flying Elvises in TNA. Loved that team, by the way. Sonny Siaki, Jimmy Wang Yang, and there was, like, another guy... Something Garza, I forget his name. They were fun. So yeah, Yang does the taunt, and then Ray springboard drop kicks him in the back. And I think it's rather ironic that he's wearing devil horns because Ray is a big time Jesus freak. He's a Christian. I think him and Eddie shared the whole thing, the locker room in common. If we're gonna talk about it, we'll briefly touch on it. The Dark Side of the Ring, Benoit.
Oh no, that's going to be safe for later. We're going to get through this stuff first, and then we're going to definitely talk about that.
Okay, it was just something about how Eddie witnessed, but anyways, yeah. I'll say that. So we had Shannon Moore hit his awesome twisting moonsault, a shooting star press plancha by Kidman, and this is a quick spot match. So they're like, you guys get 6-7 minutes, go out there, do all your shit, and all they did. So we had Yang Time, which is kind of another twisting moonsault, do you remember the spiral tap by AJ?
I do.
It's that exact move. Yes. And so was Shannon's twisting moonsault. It's weird. But it's more like a Phoenix Splash into a senton. Then there's a bottoms up, which is the famouser. A Young Bomb, which is like a assisted double power bomb by the Young Dragons. 450 Splash by Evan Courageous. The Rough Rider, a.k.a. the Bronco Buster by Ray. Then there's just this weak-looking springboard guillotine leg drop by Rey Mysterio for the win. And they are the number one contenders to Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions, Kid Romeo, and someone I think you'll be familiar with from TNA, Primetime Elix Skipper.
Oh, damn. Digging it.
Yeah.
I dig it.
I thought this was a fun match. I love Cruiserweight wrestling. And here we have... You're probably going to talk about this very same promo because it's Trish and Vince.
Yeah, no, I think we're both... I think we're finally just about to that point where we're going to be crossing roads here. So on the Raw side, we had William Regal basically calling out the Hollies, and out comes Crash Holly as well as Molly Holly. Let me tell you guys right now, 3 future Hall of Famers. This needs to happen. I'm just saying that right now. He basically Regal wants an easy matchup. Crash Holly's just don't take me lightly and blah blah blah. It's it's Crash Holly. Even when he's not Cruiserweight champion, the dude is a freaking magical being. Regal beats down Crash. He locks in the Regal lock on Molly. Then he does the same thing to Crash Holly. The matchup doesn't really exactly start. It was one of those things where I hear them ring the bell, and I'm just kind of is the match kind of going? And then as soon as Crash Holly taps out, there's no, there's no match. I'm just kind of what's going on here? I'm confused. What was not confusing was Doink the Clown coming in. He saves the Hollies. He comes in, he's attacking William Regal, and just kind of beats him down, and then we see Doink the Clown breaking out a Boston Crab. This is new. Never thought I'd be seeing this from him. So Regal is basically just crawling out. He's just thinking, what the hell? How did Doink the Clown learn that move? Doink removes his mask. It's Chris Jericho! Chris Jericho pulls a nice fast one on Regal, and I really love that when they just say, like, wait a minute, it's Jericho in Doink Attire one more time. It's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, this is funny. I love just that visual of just Jericho being held back and he's still got that clown makeup on his face. It's one of those things where it's like, man, he could make it as a member of the insane ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, if they ever were to do that. Oh my gosh. I just had a bad visual of the Inner Circle just recruiting Insane Clown Posse, and Jericho just has everybody wearing that shit. Well, I mean, to be fair, he did dress up like a person from Clockwork Orange in New Japan. So to be fair, he could pull off the mask, the makeup pretty well. But anyway, we see Vince talking to Trish again, being creepy. He's talking about Dustin wanting to have these implants put in. He wanted to be that committed to like the story, which I'm surprised they brought that up during this deal. It's like, huh, interesting. And yeah, we see the creepy Vince deal where he's just looking at Trish's boobs. One of those few times where it's like, okay, I kind of want to be in Vince's shoes, but at the same time, I don't, because I don't want to be that creepy old man that just flirts with women half of his age, or maybe like quarter his age. You know what I'm saying. So Regal, he's pissed off. He's just like, Jericho's going to be fighting the Big Show tonight, because he's still the commissioner. And Regal as commissioner is one of the greatest things. Also, if you don't know, he's one of the best general managers of all time. Check out his Raw deal. Check out his NXT deal. He's amazing. Suck it, Vince. So we have Edge and Christian. They come to the back. They're talking to Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle's just obsessed about this deal. He's like, I didn't tap out. I was trying to reach the ropes. I was doing blah, 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 blah. I do love how at WrestleMania he tries to just have this mindset where he's like, you know, if there's not an official match, if there wasn't an official bell, and blah, 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 then, you know, I never really officially tapped out. It's just one of those things where it's like, that's a long way to get your point across, but I get what you're saying. But this is also where they introduce Rhino into the situation. Props to him, because he was in the, his music was at the deal, and I got the chance to meet Rhino. He's an awesome dude. Basically, Rhino's just like, I would do anything for you, Kurt. I am going to destroy everybody. He's just all super giddy and excited. He's just like, he's being the man beast. And it's one of the greatest things. And this was all after he just killed Spike Dudley on Friday on SmackDown by sending him through that table. That was great. They do a lot of hyping up for the Rock and Austin match at WrestleMania. Well, why not? Because it's awesome. We have Deborah being interviewed by Jonathan Coachman because, hey, maybe a brother could hook us up. Nope, Deborah still doesn't want to talk. Poor Coach. And I think this is where we're getting to that point where Vince, he's basically getting ready. He's about ready to just go right into talking about the whole deal with WCW. He says, I would love to get a little bit of good luck. He gets a kiss from Trish, and it's like, wow, that's really good luck. He leaves. Then we also get a promo for Access, which, God, we never get those anymore. That's really cool. I would really love if they would actually promote Access as much as they could during WrestleMania week, so that way people can be excited and be like, hey, we have these people announced for Access. And, you know, if you want to see these people, don't announce the days. Just say, like, hey, we got Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and this people. And they don't give out the names yet until maybe like a couple days before, because why not? Just kind of hype that up just a little bit. And I believe that now we are at the crossroads here where Vince McMahon is doing the simulcast, correct?
Not quite, but
okay.
Just Nitro is airing a lot of the Trish and of like the McMahon backstage things. Like there's a spot here with Trish and Vince backstage with a pair of that's a nice pair of glasses you got there. And then, you know, they make out, the champagne is spilled, and my mind went right to, okay, that champagne spilling kind of looked like, well, climaxing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And it's funny you were talking about that Angle Benoit bit, because that match is happening in front of me right now.
Oh, damn.
And it's beautiful. But what's happening on Nitro, I have here Chavo Guerrero challenging Cruiserweight champion Sugar Shane Helms. And Chavo, with, like, my favorite entrance theme from Chavo. It's a remix of his actual theme from... It's a remix of Uncle Eddie's theme. And I just have to let this play for a second. I love it.
Nostalgia, man.
And I loved Chavo in WCW, especially when he was going through that, how do I put this, basket case gimmick, when he lost the hair versus hair match, and
that
he was riding that little Pepe horse.
Oh my gosh. I do remember that when he's just shaving his own head and he's telling Uncle Eddie, he's like, we'll be twins, me and you, we'll be twins. It's like, the fuck is wrong with you? And then he goes like, what a psycho, he won, he doesn't even want to cut my hair. Hey, he's crazy. It's just like, wow, takes one to know one there, Chavo. I do remember that match. It was amazing.
Good one.
That was an amazing match, though, that they had. Oh, jeez.
Every time they faced, but we have Sugar Shane Helms, who is just broken off. Yep, Hurricane. Not there yet.
Not quite.
Who had just broken off from 3 count, and this was another case of badly dubbed entrance music. And he had kind of like a weird techno bad thing, but it had a little rap in it about the Vertebreaker, one of his finishers, one of the most dangerous moves in wrestling history. Thankfully, I haven't seen. No, I saw Cody do it to MJF. Never mind. But it's one of the most dangerous moves I've ever seen. And every time I created a wrestler in like what would have been back here, whatever SmackDown game was at this time, I used the Vertebreaker. Called it the Spinal Fusion because, well, you know what I have back there. Yeah. So Chavo's best entrance theme comes out. Out comes Sugar Shane. Chavo has a superplex denied. Chavo has a superplex on big height. There's a big sunset flip. Nope, start again. Take 2. Superplex denied. A big height on a sunset flip by Helms. A big crossbody. That guy can fly, but, have a lot of height, a lot of velocity in his crossbodies, and especially his sunset flip. That thing looked like he can go all the way across the ring. So Chavo hits a nice T-bone suplex, classic Guerrero move right there. Some dickhead throws a cup in the ring.
Oh,
there's a Sugar Smack super kick, and once I saw a Sugar Smack, I'm like, isn't that a cereal in the States? Or was that Smack 'em? There's like a frog or something.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, it's been a long time since I had those, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I think they were called Smack'ems.
Yeah, I think it's America's answer to Sugar Crisp. Like, good enough that Sugar Crisp. Yeah, you're confused, or do you know what that is?
No, I know that because Game Grumps, like, about a year ago, just brought that back, just to sing that theme song, just like, can't get enough of that Sugar Crisp, keep them all day long. It's so funny. But yeah, no, I remember Sugar Crisps. Those were delicious. Oh my gosh.
They're a good thing to make Rice Krispie squares out of. Just take up the Krispies, get the marshmallow and the Sugar Crisp. Do it. Anyone who's hearing this, you have my blessing. Do it. So the Vertebreaker is denied, and Chavo hits the Brainbuster. Oh, Chavo's Brainbuster is crisp. He makes it look vicious. Not like some guys that make the Brainbuster look like a vertical suplex. But no, this guy nails it. But I believe there is a kick out, and then there is the Vertebreaker is actually hit. It is absolutely a dangerous move, but Chavo and Shane, Chavo retains. That rhymes, it's fine. Chavo retains here. Great quick match. All these matches are just go, quick, because they have to leave that bit of time at the end for Vince McMahon. But they still have about 3 or 4 more matches to go before the end. They're just not wasting any time.
Okay. All right. So the Vince McMahon simulcast is at the end of your show, correct?
Yeah, Vince and Shane.
Okay.
It's at the end of mine, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then I'll just. There's not really too much. When it comes to that, we'll definitely talk a little bit about it when we get to that. I'll just go right into the next matchup here, and then we'll just kind of cut back to it, just so that was kind of a little bit the same way. So next matchup that took place here was Team Extreme, as well as Chris Benoit, Jeff Hardy, and Matt Hardy taking on, I call them ECK, Edge, Christian, and Kurt Angle, because why not at this point? A pretty solid matchup between these 6 guys. Benoit, I believe he locked in the crossface on Christian, where he just immediately tapped out. I call the Team Extreme Wolverines, because why not? Because I can. These guys get into a bit of a brawl. Rhino comes in. He's beating out people. Just scores Matt Hardy. Lita goes in, and everybody's like, "No, don't do it, Rhino. Don't do it. Don't do it. Gore!" to Lita. Just because he likes to be a dick. Because he is one. They have another XFL deal where they talk about John Avery, who is battling with an injury, and is he going to make it to the next big game? A lot of hype for the XFL. And to be honest, from what a lot of people have been definitely saying this time around, the hype is really good. And the hype is paying off. And the hype is worth watching. So I guess if you like the XFL, if you like football, hey, go for it. It doesn't pique my interest, but that's a different story. So we get a backstage deal where Kane and Undertaker, they're basically asked about, actually Undertaker's more asked about the match that he's going to have with Triple H, and he's saying, he could take all the nights off that he wants, but there's no night off when it comes to WrestleMania. He talks about, the staples that Triple H put into his head, said, didn't make me mad, just made me hungry, and all I'm thinking to myself is, oh, you don't want to make a dragon hungry, because that's going to make him even more pissed. So I was already just like, yeah, he's dead. Triple H is dead, and to our credit, he basically died at WrestleMania. But so I think we're going to. I'm gonna do one more match because I know that you have about 3 matches there, so I'm trying to kind of even it out just a little bit. For some reason, there was very any matches in the first part of it, but then the second half it was just like, oh, we need to put some more product out here. We have X-Pac taking on the European Champion Test with special guest referee Eduardo Gori Guerrero. This is awesome. Seeing Eddie just doing some fast counts for X-Pac, he's doing slow counts for Test. There's one point where Test just pushes Eddie, and he's like, I'm a referee, I'll disqualify you. And I'm just like, oh, I love Eddie. I love him so much. Test knocks Eddie out of the ring. Test, I believe he hits his pump handle slam, if I'm not mistaken. Another referee comes in, and it looks like Test is going to get the win, but Eddie pulls him out. He's like, no, I'm the referee. You get out of here. I'm the referee. This distracts him long enough for Albert to come in and hit him with the, well, it would soon be called the derailleur, but I think they call it the Balbo bomb or whatever the fuck it was called. I don't care.
Baldo bomb.
Thank you. As much as I care. So X-Pac picks up a victory over the European Champion Test, and then Eddie Guerrero beats down on Test because they have a matchup at WrestleMania for the European Championship. They talked quite a bit about this match for WrestleMania. It's like, oh, cool. They're definitely hyping this match up a bit. I like it. Final thing that took place here was the return of one and only Mick Foley. He comes out, he talks a little bit about his book, and Vince McMahon is just like, I don't want you in my ring. I want you to get the hell out. And Foley's just like, well, okay, first you might want to see this video. And how they did this was genius. Because they had it back, I think it was December 6th of last year. And they basically just said, Foley just saying hi Vince, I know, but around this time you basically came back. And well, I think somehow this is not going to end well for me. So he basically has Linda, who at the time was, completely mobile. She was fine. She was not sedated by medication or anything like that. They have them sign. He's signing a bunch of contracts and stuff like that. And one of these contracts allowed him to be the guest referee at any match at WrestleMania X7. Guess which matchup he chose? He chose the street fight that's going to feature Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon. Because why the hell not? So, Foley is inserted into the match there, and there's a reason why this is going to be very interesting. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Mr. Fretz, floor is yours. What happens next on WCW?
Night of Champions continues with the WCW Tag Team Championship on the line. Team Canada, by which I mean the Can-Am connection of Mike Awesome and Lance Storm, against O'Hare and Palumbo, the then current Tag Team Champions. Please stand up for O Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, we already did that bit on this show, so don't need to do it again. Not need to do it again. And then commercial break, and then it's hypothesized that O Canada is playing during the entire commercial break, much like Chris Jericho's 1004 holds.
It's true.
Yes. So, Mike Awesome. Mike, rest in peace, him and Sean O'Hare. And also Mike for just putting up with that, for being a pseudo-Canadian. Like, Lance Storm, I think, was the only actual Canadian in WCW's Team Canada. Oh, wait, you know who else was in that faction? PCO.
Oh, damn, really?
Yeah, for a brief period in time. So Team Canada, I'll just say this, consisted of Mike Awesome, Major Guns, a.k.a. Tylene Buck. Don't Google it, kids, with Safe Search on, I'll say that much. Elix Skipper, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Yeah, that was a thing. Hacksaw had to join Team Canada. No.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
I'm as red and white as the next Canuck, but even I was like, no, man, no. You're a USA guy, Hacksaw. No. Yeah. And it was Lance and PCO were the only Canadians. That was funny. So, if I could be serious for a minute, nope, cuts off immediately. Let Lance be serious, guys. Come on. And then he breaks out in the boring basic fundamentals that everyone jokes about, with Lance Storm being boring, despite being one of the most technically sound wrestlers of all time. We have something here. Oh, did I not write a lot? No, I had something else here, but it was for something else. Michael Coe's Frosted Tips. Oh, man, 2000s. So, O'Hare was a guy that the second I saw him in, like, Natural Born Thrillers, I thought he had world champion potential. And that Devil's Advocate gimmick that never got off the ground just pisses me off. Is that if you go to, like, Ruthless Aggression, well, shout out to the Ruthless Aggression pod, because they've talked about this. Levi Kyle, and I'm going to draw a blank at the third guy's name. I'm sorry.
Levi Kyle and no, it's not Jeff. What was his name? Oh my gosh.
We're so blocked.
Oh man, that is sad. Because we love listening to those guys. They're great. But anyway, we matchup. There we go. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah, and then we had here the USA chants. Lance is the only Canadian in this again. The Awesome hit a springboard splash. There's another springboard elbow by Mike Awesome. Working over Chuck Palumbo, which means Sean O'Hare gets a hot tag, and he can do one heck of a hot tag. Are you familiar with the Attitude Era podcast?
Not really, not too much.
Okay, highly recommend.
Also, I want to apologize to people in the that are hearing weird stuff in the background. My cousin is taking a shower right now, and I'm not going to tell him to shut up when it comes to that. So he's staying clean for this Carino deal, you know.
Yeah, shout out to the Grundman cousin there. Congratulations on self-isolating and sanitizing.
Oh my gosh. He's not even going to listen to this show, so whatever.
That's That is fine. Yeah, and well, they used to do a bit where they would compare hot tags to, well, sauces, but it's a hot sauce on a UK chicken franchise called Nando's.
Oh.
It'd be like, and they called it the Nando scale. So if the hot tag was just like boom, 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 it would be like your suicide sauce. So if it was like, the Big Show tagging in when doing a hot,
yeah.
the Big Show doing a hot tag, it would be like barbecue sauce or lemon pepper.
Was that this matchup?
No, Sean O'Hare had a good hot tag, so I would put him at the maybe the mango habanero.
Okay.
Because Sean O'Hare, Chuck Palumbo called this move the jungle kick. You get a little bit of tropical flavor there with your hot sauce. Anyways, one of my favorite moves of all time, Sean O'Hare hits the Widowmaker, which is the reverse. They call it a reverse Death Valley driver, but it's really like a fireman's carry into like a spinebuster slam.
Okay.
Awesome move. Then there's a bunch of reversals. The awesome bomb is reversed. There is a jungle kick and the Swanton bomb. Sean O'Hare's Swanton. Mwah. An okay quick match, but as I said before, these next ones are just go, 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 and go to the finish. Like this next one, I'm just going to say because it's super quick. Sean Stasiak. Oh, gosh.
Everyone's favorite future Hall of Famer, Sean Stasiak.
Thankfully, this wasn't when he was called the Perfect Event, and he had that shit Mr. Perfect ripoff, but it was just the right notes were. It was Mr. Perfect, but it was just the right notes were. While I'm waffling on here, I'm actually going to get it up here because it's so bad that it's Sean Stasiak.
But who did he face in this matchup?
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, jeez. Well, this
and this was Bam Bam Bigelow was carrying out his tattoo gun and his tattoo gear, and just it's like, oh yeah, I'll tattoo you or Stacy Keibler if I win this match, and Stacy comes out with some techno music and the oh kind of music.
Oh,
so Sean Stasiak, listen to this. Get the lawyers.
Jeez.
Oh wait, here's the part. And that's where they saved their ass.
Oh my gosh.
At the wrong part. Oh no. I got worse. Go listen to Mance's backlog on the Gift of Podcast. So that's a stipulation about, I'm going to give you a piercing. And Stacy's like, do you all want to see me dance? Do you want to see me take it off? Well, too bad. This is the Sean and Stacy show. Mute. No, not having that. So Bam Bam Bigelow goes for the greetings from Asbury Park, but Stacy pulls Stasiak off. Reverse neck breaker, and it's over just like that. Bam Bam does manage to hit the flying headbutt, but, Stacy pulls out the ref. Bam Bam just looked bad. I mean, he put on a few pounds at this point in time. He wasn't looking good. God rest his soul, but this wasn't his best outing. This wasn't Bam Bam versus Bret Hart, which, for the love of everything holy, watch. My goodness.
Yes.
Sean and Stacy leave. Then what do I have here? This is something from WWE I have here. Do you have William Regal?
Well, I've long passed William Regal. I mean, I'm at the point right now where, I'm actually realizing right now is that I think that WCW may have started an hour earlier than WWF. That's why our things are not completely in sync right now. So, yeah, we've already long passed a lot of this stuff. But I'll just get into the rest of my Raw notes, and then you'll talk about your main events, and then we'll talk about the simulcast and why this was such a game changer. So, We had Big Show defeating Chris Jericho, Regal, Kane, and Raven. They all got involved, and they all just started interfering in this matchup. It was crazy. It was wild. Rock is looking for Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a moment where I thought to myself, oh my god, we're going to see Rock roast this guy, because he basically just says, you're new around here, aren't you? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, here we go. He's going to roast him. He's going to roast him. He asks for his name, tells him his name, and he's just like, just extends out his hand, shakes his like, thank you. I'm like, what? What is this? This is not Rocky. What is this? But it's one of those things where, like, okay, it just makes you appreciate the moment even more. Just gonna leave it. The Dudley Boys, who were at the WWF World, were basically guaranteeing their victory at WrestleMania. Oh, my brother, testify. We get Rock and Austin. They're backstage. They're getting basically on the same page. Sort of, kind of, maybe, probably not. We get, the entrances. We get Kane. He comes out. We get Undertaker coming out to the Biscuit. Oh, my God, I love this theme song with Undertaker. It's just so badass. I just love it. We have The Rock coming out with Deborah, because for some reason Vince McMahon thought this would be a good idea. Yeah, it wasn't Vince. Why? But I will say that Deborah was just absolutely smoking, considering the fact that she was wearing possibly nothing underneath that suit coat. I was like, whew, man, Deborah back then was just amazing. Also, there were a couple of women in the front row that I kind of noticed. I was just like, huh. No, this is back when, like, a lot of hot women loved wrestling. Now they just don't, because stupid shit. Because that's good shit, damn it.
Hashtag find women that love wrestling, bro.
Okay, fair enough. You did remind me of that. That's fair. So Stone Cold comes out, and he comes out with his Glass Shedder's Disturbed theme song, which is still freaking badass. Really good matchup between these four guys. I loved how these guys, we have Taker and Kane. They're basically just beating everybody down. We see The Rock and Stone Cold. It was a really good main event match, except for one thing. And what a surprise. Here comes the man with the shovel, and he's like, I'm going to get my hammer, and now I'm going to try and bash Mr. Taker in the head. And then he takes a steel chair and goes boink, takes him down. Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, they pick up the victory. Undertaker is pissed. He's just looking at Triple H like, I'm literally going to murder you this Sunday. We see Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's having a nice little beer bath deal. He's just literally celebrating like no tomorrow. And to a shock to everybody, The Rock hits a Stone Cold Stunner on Steve Austin. To which Deborah was just like, what? Some of the reactions that Deborah had outside of the ring were just were so amazing. They were just instant, like, clickbait. It's great. So that's how Raw kind of ends, but not quite how WCW ends. Mr. Fretz, what happens next on your end?
Well, because you said Austin and Rock, I am contractually obligated.
So what do you want to do, man?
Well, no, that's not it.
Well, that's anticlimactic.
Funny stuff.
Yeah, this is embarrassing. Okay. There we go. I have to play My Way. That was actually the start of the music video, My Way. I forgot they had one. Yeah, that's enough of that. You want to hear more of that? I'm probably going to Fretzlemania X7, just because F it.
Yeah.
We have a WCW title montage here with, the cheesy inspirational music, celebrating the lineage of the WCW title, but they're also, like, going back to the NWA title, so... No, or did they? No, they didn't put in, like, Lou Thez in this, which they could have because Lou Thez is the greatest wrestler of all time. Like, I'm going to say that right now. If he is not on your Mount Rushmore, you were doing Mount Rushmore wrong. For the record, Lou Thez, Carl Gotch, George Hackenschmidt, and I don't know who else. So you had Death the Road, baby, Lou Thez, Jack Briscoe, The Great Muta, Flair, Sting, Nash, Jeff Jarrett, Goldberg, all these people, and it's just the celebration of the title. But the title match is not yet. it is after this match, which is the Cruiserweight Tag Team Championship match between Kid Romeo and Elix Skipper defending their titles against Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman of the Filthy Animals. I'm looking at Romeo and I'm like, there is no way you are a Cruiserweight, sir. Just like I look at Tony Nese and think, no, I don't think so, buddy. So there's some Ricky Martin-ass music for Kid Romeo. I swear it was just like a shot-for-shot rip-off of Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh, jeez.
I swear. So there is a belly-to-belly, and then Romeo and Elix Skipper hit the Quebec Bomb, which is that assisted flipping senton move that the Quebecers did.
Oh, okay.
Yep, I love that finisher, especially with a guy the size of PCO. Then there was an alley-oop by Romeo, like the power bomb into the sorry lamp. That looked bad. Looked really bad. There's a spin kick. Kidman counters another spin kick. There's a senton and a DDT. The Bronco Buster. And Kid Romeo hits the Angel's Wings. This is neat. Ray hits a nice powerbomb and a headbutt, and I think it's Skipper here hits an awesome bridging electric chair suplex. That was just a phenomenal move. And then the Kid Crusher, a.k.a. the Unprettier, by Kidman, and we have new Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions, and new and final, and I think only the second or third Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions.
Damn.
The Filthy Animals. And then we see Sting backstage, and it's just, we started it, and now tonight we end it. It's showtime. Woo! Wow, that was a woo girl woo. I'm sorry, Sting.
Man.
Then we see Ric Flair. Oh wow, I just heard myself there. Ric Flair versus Sting. No Metallica, sad, but Crow theme. And this is just, if you've seen a Ric Flair Sting match, you've seen them all. It's very formulaic. It's very babyface versus heel. Even though Flair he wasn't a heel at this point in time. I don't think they were trying to work babyface versus heel. This was just for the love of the game, for the love of the title, for WCW, for the fans, and it was quite the send off. We had they're talking about their historic matches, the Horsemen. That time. No, Sting wasn't a Horseman, was he? I can't remember. I didn't watch old NWA, so bear with me here. This was not Rick's best. I mean, he was wrestling in a t-shirt and tights. It just looked off. I mean, he still didn't look bad physically. I mean, not like people age. Like the end of his WWE run, like physically, Flair didn't look good. But I shouldn't talk. But we see a press slam by Stinger, the 10 punch, the classic Ric Flair D drop, the strut, goes to the top rope, and what happens when Ric Flair goes to the top rope?
Doesn't connect.
Nope. I've seen him connect like twice. No, maybe 3 times in his career. He did one in a cage match against Harley Race, and then I think he actually connected in his retirement match with Michaels.
Probably. I know there was a time where he was actually able to hit that move, but not very often. The other times it was just like, hey, I'm going to go up here. Be sure to toss me real far. Whee!
Oh, man. He can take that bump like a champ.
Yes.
We see him lock in the figure 4. Woo! But it is reversed, and I thought that this is where Stinger would have won, because he's won at this point in time after completely reversing it, boom, right into the Scorpion Deathlock. But we see a superplex, a very snug and snap superplex from the second rope, and then the Scorpion Deathlock, and they embrace in the ring as a sign of respect, as WCW goes off the air, but not yet, because it is now time for the simulcast, and WCW kicked in just as Vince was like, no, restart my entrance again. and then he goes back up to the ramp, and Lillian Garcia is like, Mr. McMahon! Strut.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I did have to note the fact that when Lillian was wearing that WrestleMania jersey, WrestleMania X7 jersey, oh, did she look good in that? She was very beautiful. It's one of those things where it's like, you just make so many common things look very great. But Vince McMahon, he's coming out, he's basically announcing, what is going to be the fate of WCW. And he admits that he has not quite yet signed the contract because he has plans to sign the contract at WrestleMania. And he wants Ted Turner on WrestleMania to come to the ring and basically give it over to Vince McMahon. He has this ingenious deal where he's just going to make it make him grovel and just almost beg for it and blah blah blah. Just one of those things where he's just trying to humiliate Ted Turner for everything he did, and we get that classic, we got to take your competition by the throat. You got to squeeze the life out of your competition, just like I did WCW, and just like I'm going to do to my son Shane. He talks about the match between him and Shane, which we find out later in the night has the guest referee and Mick Foley. Then he does this thumbs up, thumbs down kind of deal where basically he's trying to get people to say, basically saying what should I do with WCW? Should I just put it on the shelf and let it have a deal? Should I maybe sign some people today, or maybe I should sign I think he said like Sting, Goldberg, Ric Flair, people like that. He's just doing this deal where it's like he does the thumb up, most people are cheering. Then he does the thumbs up down to people, and then there's a bit of a silence, especially if it's somebody that they really. There was a lot of Goldberg chants in that deal. They wanted him to be in WWF so bad, but we've definitely learned that was not the case. We would love to have had Sting in there, but a few months later, we would find out that one moment would cause Sting to be like, you know what? I'm good. And just close the door respectfully in their face. But, Vince is just basically, again, just bragging about the fact that I destroyed WCW. I am destroyed, blah, 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 blah. And then we hear theme music. And we see on the Titantron, on Raw's side, it's the Titantron for Shane McMahon. But there is no Shane McMahon. Why is that, Fretz?
You know what's funny? The vignette for the Vince and Shane match is running as we speak, and we're at the part where Shane actually does announce it. Oh, this is just perfect timing. So we have, it's oh yeah, Father, just like your ego got the best of you tonight, I decided to come down here and deal with this. The contract does say McMahon, and Vince just gets that reaction. Well, he holds it there because it's the tape delay from Panama City to wherever Raw was. But it was very confusing because, as I'm seeing right now, both McMahons came out to No Chance. But it was weeks later, Shane would get his own and much better. Oh wait, No Chance is a damn good song. Here Comes the Money's good, but not quite. So we have a contract does say McMahon, and the look on Vince's face Vince was so good at facials.
I loved that moment. I think I rewinded that at least 2 or 3 times just to see that facial reaction of him just being like, what? I'd be like, oh, this is where it goes down.
It does say McMahon. I can do Vince, so I won't do Shane. It's the contract does say McMahon, but it reads Shane McMahon. And much like WCW kicked your ass in the past, that's exactly what's going to happen to you this Sunday at WrestleMania. And Shane is giving a shout out to his WCW homies. Because allegedly they were supposed to get involved in this match, but someone allegedly ran his mouth. So I took note of the thumbs up, thumbs down deal that Vince did. It's what should we do? And it's all these people have Turner contracts, and pardon me, most of these people wound up working for the company. It's Hulk Hogan, thumbs up. Hulk Hogan, thumbs down. Okay, Lex Luger. Boo. got signed. Scott Steiner. Oh, let's not talk about his WWE run. Goldberg. You know what? His WWE run wasn't bad. No, I'm not talking about now. Gosh, no. And, yeah, it was fun. And then he's like, the Redneck Riviera.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this was a game-changing moment because of the fact that Vince McMahon, after so long, was worried that that WCW was going to, put them under. Finally, there came a point where it's like, they're not going to, and there's a chance that they're going to be out of business. But there's so much content that's still there that he decides, you know what? Here's a nice juicy check. I'll take it. I will say this. I love how Bischoff kind of explains this on multiple occasions where originally he was in talks to purchase WCW. He was going to get the rights, the video library, and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But the problem was that one of the things that was taken off the table was the TV deal. So, and Eric Bischoff's worried, he was like, well, without the TV deal, WCW is like worth $20. And he knew that there was no way that he was going to be able to make a deal with that. So, to see Vince McMahon coming out and parading at the fact, and it's very seldom that you see somebody actually say, I bought my competition. I own my competition. So this was great, and this also set the stage for what was going to be the very questionable booking of the Invasion storyline. Had we not lost some great stars like Triple H, it probably would have been really good. Had they signed a lot of the bigger stars, it would have been amazing. But they did whatever they could with what they could, and yeah, it was still memorable. It was just not the kind of memorable that we wanted. But after so many years, WCW finally closed its doors and was bought out by the WWF. It was a great game-changing moment. And to kind of relive this kind of final night where we see the next chapter for WCW, quote-unquote, would kind of begin, it was really cool to see that. And it's kind of interesting because it makes people, beg the question, well, what's going to happen to this company now? What's going to happen to, a lot of these stars? What's going to happen to, blah, 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 blah. Some of these stars would be properly utilized. Some of these stars would be trashed. And then there's Sean Stasiak. That was a thing. This was a great pick, Fretz. This was a really good pick for, game changer topic for us to discuss this week.
Yeah, I was having a hard time thinking of some stuff, but I think because I was thinking of X7, I thought, oh, Final Nitro. That there it is. There's the topic, and yeah, it was definitely a game changer because this was the end of the Monday Night Wars. Although one can argue they ended long before this because WWE has been handing them their ass for a long time, and the only time WCW would ever get any kind of leeway in the action and the war is when Raw was preempted by the Westminster Dog Show. That was still a thing in the late 90s. That they were still doing the dog show, and then I would always be pissed, and I'd be like, Monday night, okay, time for Raw, why do I see dogs? And then I'd have to wait until Wednesday when TSN would get Nitro, so I'd be like, well, I might as well fire up my PlayStation 1. Here we go.
Yeah, even like in mid 2000s, there were points where I do remember that where the dog show was just taking over that, and we never really got the chance to see Raw because hey, look at these fluff balls. Oh, so Raw's not really getting any ratings for you guys? Well, I mean they're okay. It's like you could have just. So only the people that are live there are watching it. Yeah, pretty much. I hate you. I'm just going to say it like that. I will scissor kick you, and then I will pop your head like a pimple off your shoulders. How about that? Anyway, while I get this rage out of my body, let's take a quick little commercial break, and please, ladies and gentlemen, just enjoy another fun-filled cameo by a wonderful, wonderful individual. So stay tuned, guys. We will be right back.
This is your pool party captain, Randy Fitzsimmons, and you're listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Pew, pew!
Today, this message is for NateFNGreat. Man, it is Taylor Hendricks here, and I am super wicked stoked to wish you an awesome, happy, wicked, cool 5 years as a podcaster. Congratulations. Slinky, the weenie, and I are giving you 2 and 2 paws, so 4 paws up for your podcast, right? Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. Thank you so much for your amazing cameo request. Sorry, I'm having really bad asthma lung disease day. We are just geeking out. We are on the road, and I wanted to make sure I got all my cameos done now that I have some internet. Thank you so much for being a part of the Taylor Army. Your cameo request, not only do I think it's really cool to get to know different fans in the Taylor Army, but you guys are also helping me give back. So your cameo request is actually helping me donate to No Kill Shelters in honor of the Taylor Army and Slinky.theweenie from Instagram. So many amazing things coming up. I would love to hear more about your podcast. I think it's amazing, to stick around and do something you love and try to be successful at it. It takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of love, and it takes a lot of gumption. That's why I'm always telling people all you need in life is love, guts, and gumption. You need the guts to go for your dreams. You need the self-love to get you through all of those hard times, and you need the gumption to really stick to something and see it through no matter what. Through good, through the bad, the pretty, the ugly, every little bit of it, A lot of people will try something and quit, and a lot of people will quit on you, as I'm sure that you have experienced. So the fact that you are still doing what you love, it's just amazing to me. It makes me laugh with happiness, honestly, because I can appreciate and understand exactly what that kind of struggle is like. Believe me. So thank you so much for bringing me in to wish you a congratulations for 5 years. I think that's absolutely amazing, and for allowing me to be a part of that. Having people like you a part of the Taylor Army is just so cool to me. I just love it. I feel so humbled, and I'm just, more than ever, I'm just loving everything that I'm doing, and it's all thanks to you guys. I honestly never would have thought any of this was possible. All the heck that I had to go through to get to today, it just makes me really grateful for all of the opportunities that I have coming up that I cannot wait to share with you all in the Taylor Army. I'm just so stoked. You guys have, seriously, you guys have no idea the stuff I've been sitting on. I'm telling you, I've been sitting on some amazing announcements. I can't wait. And to get to share stuff like that with you guys, especially for things like this with this cameo, is just amazing. And all of us coming together through these cameos, is helping make a difference for animals in need and for St. Jude's Hospital as well. Those are my 2 big ones that I've been doing through Cameo. So thank you so much. I was really stoked to join the Cameo team, and having people like you tell me about your lives and what you're doing, I just think it's awesome. So thank you so much for thinking I am a gem. Keep being a part of the Taylor Army. I love you all, and I hope that this really brightens up your 2020. And I better get another cameo for when you hit 10 years, because it will happen. Thank you so much. Nate the effing great. Hail Hendricks.
Oh man, you guys, I honestly love these cameos. They are just absolutely amazing. If you want a cameo of your own, just go to cameo.com. We're not sponsored by them, but I'm giving them a plug because they are just absolutely amazing. Definitely check out the lineups that they have. They have actors, they have athletes, so many great people who are just looking to make your day, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, just to say hi or anything like that. You've definitely heard that a lot over the last few weeks. And guys, still got a whole nother month of quite a few amazing cameos. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Alright, so before we get too deep into The next topic at hand, definitely need to do some cheap plugs. You can check out Mr. Fretz at the Legendary JF, and also check out his podcast, Fretzlemania. It's something that's absolutely amazing and wonderful. Definitely a lot of fun, whether he's doing the 20 bell salute, whether he's doing the Wayback Machine. So much to do. Definitely check him out. Main thing to do is to go on to Anchor and leave him a nice little voice message, because, you know, he's cool like that, and he will play it for your show. He'll play it for his show. Do it. Do it now. Send him presents. I don't know why I said that, but I just felt like to throw an Adam Blompier reference in there for some reason.
My birthday's next month, that's why.
Okay, there we go. Send him presents because his birthday's coming up. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at RealFNGame. You can also check out us here, the Game Changer Podcast, as well as the Kings of the Ring to the Young Lions Perspective at Wrestle Addict Radio at Addict_Wrestle to check out everything that is going on, you guys, whether it's podcasting. And hey, usually we charge people for the whole Patreon deal. For this week only, free stuff this entire week. We know the fact that there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on in the world right now, but we definitely do not want to stop that from showing that we appreciate you guys and that we love you guys. Thank you so much for your support for Wrestle Addict Radio. All right, so we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to talk about it now because we wanted to get the little retro deal on the way. Dark Side of the Ring on Vice TV has been doing just absolutely amazing and just heartbreaking as well as heart-wrenching and very emotionally driven specials on there. I've actually gotten a chance to watch, I think, every single one of the Dark Side of the Ring's episodes except for the Von Erich one as well as the Bruiser Brody one, I believe it was. Those two, well, I already look at Fretz and I could tell those are going to be tough to get through. But we already encountered a very, very tough 2-hour episode, actually, in which they covered the Benoit incident. This was one of those things that you and I, Fretz, I believe that we've actually lived through the whole entire ordeal, and it is not one of those things that's very easy to talk about. It's one of those things that does answer the question, well, why is it that people are not talking about Benoit in the same way that they could be talking about somebody who passed away, like an Eddie Guerrero, like a Dusty Rhodes, a Roddy Piper, stuff like that. It's because there's a lot of dark things that unfortunately took place in Benoit's final days. They touch on how Benoit and his wife Nancy met. They touch base on the relationship that he and Eddie had. There's so many great visuals that they have during the deal where they just have what's the word I'm looking for? They just have like the dark shadows. They don't really show the faces. I want to get the right word.
Silhouette.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking. Kind of like these silhouette characters. They kind of show these kind of deals, like they're recreating these moments that took place. They talk about the building relationship that Benoit and Eddie had, the final days of Eddie Guerrero, and just how it definitely seemed to change the mindset of Benoit. Then they go into the incident, and they even go into a little more in depth. They had JR on this deal, where he basically recalls everything that went on during the how WWE kind of presented itself. How they did a tribute special, but that was because they didn't have all the details. They were basically doing a deal where they just said, we want to honor the guy, honor the work that he gave to the wrestling company. But it was kind of one of those things where I would dare say the news kind of screwed the pooch on this one, and they definitely just shafted them hard when they came to that. And the news definitely had a field day with this. They definitely talked about how, like wrestlers are going to have a lesser lifespan than, any other athletes because of steroids and because of this and blah, 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 blah. Just, it's one of those things where the toxicity in the news just hasn't really changed that much since then. And granted, the whole incident is still one of those things that can't be, undersold. And that's, again, one of the reasons why we can't talk about Benoit in the same way. I think that Paul Heyman said it best in an interview with Inside the Ropes, where he basically talks about, his deal. He says, as a performer, one of the greatest that he's ever seen, and one of the greatest that I will ever see and ever remember. But one of the things that he said was, I don't care about CTE. He had a choice. Nancy and Daniel did not. That was kind of one of those things where it is very hard to deny. And one of the things that I actually really got my heart was I believe it would be Nancy's sister, was that she was going on a limb to say that she might find it in her heart one day to forgive Chris. And that's something very big, because I would think that there's so many people that would not be able to forgive Benoit for what he did. There's a lot of people nowadays that still won't. I mean, I can't forgive him. I know there's a lot of other people that can't forgive him either. But at the same time, this is one of those things where from my religion standpoint, I can't be one of those people that judges, because that is not in my power, and that is not something that is in my resume. There's only one person who can judge a man, who can judge a woman. It's the big man upstairs. That's the way I see it. That's why I try not to judge people as much as I can, because the fact is, that's not why I'm down here. I'm not down here to judge people. I am not down here to belittle people. I'm not here to be, that person who tries to make people's lives miserable. I'm here to try and make things better. That is what we are here for, the Game Changer, and that is why I love this being called the Game Changer podcast, because the fact is, we change the game one day at a time. Getting back to this, though, the one other heartstring puller was David Benoit. Cannot imagine what it is to be in this guy's shoes. And it's really crazy, because I think it was actually in a conversation with Rachel about this, where she was definitely talking about how tough it must be for David. And it's one of those things where David has said on interviews, he would love nothing more than to, basically redeem his family name. He would love to be and he would love to, show tribute to the dad that he know, not the monster that we've kind of come to know in the past. And it's one of those things where, it's hard to, it's hard to really do that, but I understand where he's coming from, because it's really tough for him, because just because he has the last name of Benoit, he's automatically going to be judged. And I hate that. I really do hate that. He doesn't deserve that. He did absolutely nothing, and unfortunately, because of the sins of his father, he's paying for it right now. I will also say that he definitely does open up about, the closest relationships that he's had in wrestling, his relationship with Chavo, his relationship with Jericho. It even seemed like there was a rekindling of a relationship between him as well as, I guess we could say, his, Nancy's sister, yeah.
His aunt.
And his aunt, thank you. It just, that was something that really kind of put a smile on my face, is that, this was a traumatic experience for both of them, but they both realized that you still have each other, you still have family. And it's just really wonderful to see that coming out of that. And I think it was actually, I think they mentioned there was years that they didn't even talk to each other. I think it was maybe even after the funeral or something like that. They never talked for years. So finally they got the chance to, reunite and talk. And that was something that, it is one positive on this. And they definitely even talked about the fact, Benoit, is he going into the Hall of Fame? Hell no. Would Nancy go in the Hall of Fame because of her, her woman persona? Honestly, she deserves it. She's one of those people that definitely did kind of pave the way for a lot of managers back in the day. And I think Jericho kind of hits the nail on the head, where he mentions that you don't really see women managers like that anymore, because usually it's just oh, you're a woman, you're going to be a wrestler. So I think, in all honesty, the one example that I might exempt from that would be Thea Trinidad, a.k.a. Zelina Vega. She's one of those women who doesn't wrestle as much, but she does a great job as being a manager. She does a fantastic job of doing that, and in all honesty, if she goes on to be a wrestler after this whole thing with Andrade, hey, that's great for her, but I'm enjoying what she's doing as a manager right now. She's doing a fantastic job. So I basically given the basic whole entire episode of the Benoit deal. It was very heart-wrenching, heartbreaking. And I'll tell you this right now, that, I rewatched the Eddie Guerrero tribute video that Benoit did, and hearing, what everybody said about him was that, he was basically like the Dirty Harry. He showed no emotion, no weakness or anything like that. And you just see that all just break down in just a matter of, the video was at least 4 minutes. In 2 minutes, he broke down. And it hits me even harder knowing the fact that this was probably the moment where where everything was going to be different for him. So I will admit, I definitely cried, and I'm still kind of getting a little emotional about this because A, I miss Eddie, and B, I just hate the fact that this happened because, again, while Benoit, it's going to be hard to forgive him, or even to think about forgiveness when it comes to his actions, we still know the fact that Daniel and Nancy unfortunately perished, and they definitely did not deserve that. They were definitely the innocent ones in this entire deal. But this documentary does a fantastic job, and one of the things I definitely do love that Jericho said was that, if you think that I'm trying to glorify a murder, stop watching right now. And he didn't. Nobody in this whole entire ordeal should ever be looked at as, oh, they glorified a murder. No, they are glorifying his works, his stuff that he did in the ring. Stuff, because you can differentiate the stuff between the two. Like, you could do the same thing with, like, an actor. Let's say Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., yeah, he's done a lot of crappy stuff in his personal life, but we appreciate him for a lot of the acting stuff that he did as Tony Stark, as Sherlock Holmes, as a random comedic character in a comedy movie, whatever you can think of. So it's one of those things where if you can differentiate between the two, you can still appreciate the works and not tie it in with the human being that created them. So I've said a lot. I apologize, Fretz. I know that, this kind of hits home for you, especially with the fact that Benoit was indeed a Canadian.
Yeah, not only that, but from about 01 until the end of his life, Benoit was my favorite wrestler. I mean, he came in a transition time, like, Steve Austin was on his way out, The Rock was on his way out, and I'm like, okay, I need a new favorite, and, like, I've always liked Chris Benoit since I first saw him. I think the first match I ever saw him in was, like, Dean Malenko in WCW, and then a hardcore match with Kevin Sullivan, with I think a little bit of, you saw the special, so a little bit of kayfabe and personal life kind of intertwined here a little bit. And yeah, as I'm saying here, I'm not glorifying a murderer. Hell no. Do I forgive him? Hell no. I'll say this is a real talk. I've barely forgiven the driver that, hit my friend that died in that accident. Yeah, it's hard, it's raw, it's real. Like the one part that got me, I'm very stoic. I'm kind of good at keeping it inside, and if I have to go, have a tear out, I'll go do that. But the part when Chavo was talking about when Eddie died in his arms, just that killed me. I didn't even know that. Like that's one thing that was revealed, right? Like it was. And Benoit's reaction, and you said it best, that's when everything just changed, and like that was his guardian angel. And Eddie was a witness to Christ, to Chris. No, Chris wasn't a religious man. He was very private, very stoic, but I think he had a respect out of it because Eddie was Eddie wasn't pushing him. And that's the one thing that I respect about that. And as a Christian myself, that's something I tend to go by. I don't push the Bible on people. Like, I've given Bibles to friends before. Like, I had a friend who was going through some messy shit, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? This helped me. If this helps you, pass it on. If not, then whatever. But Eddie would, like, be literally naked in the locker room, like, reading the Bible. Like, okay, that's a man on fire for Christ, and that is admirable. Benoit always carried that Bible, and I love that. And as I said before, or as we said before, it's hard to I can't say the word differentiate. Yeah, whatever that word is. The man from the monster, and even like when Vicky was saying, it's like that's not Chris, like that did that at the end, and where was he? David Benoit's thing that was hard to watch. Like his interview with Chris Van Vliet is a must listen podcast. This is where all this stuff began, and Chris Jericho, he was responsible for bringing back David Benoit and Nancy's sister, like that being the bridge between the gap. And that's something I thought is admirable. I probably had other thoughts in there, but they've just left my mind. It was one of the most emotional things I've ever seen.
Definitely, and they actually do incorporate, a lot of the stuff where WWE still was struggling with, keeping that wellness policy. Well, I wouldn't say struggling. It kind of was one of those things where they kind of definitely saw the holes. The holes were definitely revealed more during this whole entire deal. So much so that it brought in former WWE superstar Chris Nowinski, which I was very surprised to see him in this deal. And even Nowinski got an interaction with Chris where he was basically talking about the concussion deal, where Benoit asked the question, well, how many concussions did you have in wrestling? And he said, I think about maybe like 3 or 4, if I can remember correctly. And then Nowinski asked Benoit, like, how many have you had? And Benoit just said, I've lost track. So it was one of those things where, it seemed like he was trying to find a solution and also try to figure out, what are the best options to basically handle this whole ordeal. But unfortunately, that did not take place. Even, what really sucks is that there are those moments where where people feel like, if they would have done more, then maybe this would have happened. It's like, don't put the blame on yourself. You're not responsible for this. You didn't know, and you did what you could. That's all we can ask for. So Dark Side of the Ring, Vice TV, it's absolutely just a much-watched deal. I will say, for those of you that may have, very, maybe a little bit of like the queasy stomach, or you're just uneasy with very graphic situations, I probably would not suggest watching this. But for a lot of wrestling fans, these are things that definitely do kind of open your eyes a bit more and kind of really help you see the kind of struggles and pains that wrestlers do go through their lives, because they're not superheroes. They're regular human beings just like you and me. I know that we actually talked about, one that's going to be just absolutely a heart-wrencher, and they mentioned this on their Season 2 deal. One that we're probably going to be reviewing when it comes out, as well as probably going to need tissues for, is when they talk about Owen. That is going to be a tough one to get through. I will admit that I didn't get the chance to watch Owen in his prime and seeing that, but I've seen so many of his matches. It's great seeing the comedy moments that he's done. I'm talking, of course, before Blue Chip or the whole Bluebird deal, because what was that? He somehow made that work. From what I'm told, he somehow still made that work. Owen is just a Class A+ person, who also can be an a-hole a bit at times, because I've heard the stories about him pranking people. But it's Owen, so I'm looking forward to learning more about the life of Owen. But I'm also going to be grabbing tissues when they go right into talking about everything that happened that night. It's going to be a tough one. I will say this, like I said before, I got the chance to see a lot of them. The Montreal Screwjob deal just is a huge eye-opener, and I will say this, that I believe that Jim Cornette came up with the idea before Vince Russo, because I don't believe a thing that dude says, bro. It's dumb. But when I got to the Macho Man and Elizabeth story, that was another one that actually got a couple tears in my eyes, because Elizabeth was just honestly one of the sweetest people that could have ever known, and people had nothing but positive things to say about her. But unfortunately, she was affected by, in my view, peer pressure, as well as, unfortunately, drug abuse, which ultimately cost her everything. And I really hate to see that. And I will also say this, for those that are going to, basically knock on the Macho Man for always being protective and being obsessed with Elizabeth, he loved her. This is the way I see it. He loved her so much. It just that I don't think he really knew the proper way to, to handle her. I think that there were things that he could have done better, but there was no doubt that he loved Elizabeth. I'm never going to deny that. So, with that being said, we can go into the next deal here. Of course, another bit of somber news that we had this week, unfortunately, because of the Carino epidemic. A couple of superstars have been kind of pulled from WrestleMania. One being Daniel Bryan. I actually heard news reports about that he is going to be quarantined for a while. But the latest one that came out here, and to our knowledge, he does not have it, but he's definitely quarantining himself for the time being. Can't blame the guy, is Roman Reigns. We know about the fact that he's had his battles with leukemia, and honestly, one story that sticks up to me that actually kind of makes me fear for Roman was a story about a coach in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. The kid dies at the age of, I believe it was 21. The problem was he was also battling with leukemia. So it's one of those things where I think that Roman is making the best decision right now, because especially if a news article like that comes out and you see the details as to, with him, I'd be scared for Roman. So if Roman wants to stay in, hey, stay in. Just, be with your family, be with your kids, be with your wife. It's family time. It's time to enjoy some family time and a nice quarantine deal until this whole thing blows over. So, I hate the fact that we're not going to see Roman Reigns, murder Goldberg, but at the same time, I'd much rather see a healthy, alive Roman Reigns for 10 more years than to see Roman Reigns versus Goldberg and Roman to only be with us for, 10 months. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I remembered one thing from Benoit. If you want to actually watch the tribute show, which now, given the context, is just awkward, William Regal's words in his tribute kind of said a few things, like unspoken, in-between-the-line things that now make sense. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's a few people in there who kind of read between the lines, but that's neither here nor there. It's understandable. I don't blame Roman. If I were in his shoes, to do the same thing. His immune system, of course, is compromised. I think of my dad at this point in time, who also has one, him being a cancer survivor himself. But sucks, and, Mania is going to be interesting, because, allegedly some of it's already been taped or going to be taped, because all these new laws in Florida are going to be taking effect, which would potentially put the kibosh, well, at least in whatever section of Florida, Tampa is the part of Tampa, but Orange County, no, that's where Tampa is, but in Orlando, we still have the empty Performance Center, in which we will see NXT TakeOver matches during the next few weeks of tapings. I'm fine with, as long as everything's done proper, safe, protocol, sanitizing, isolating, all that kind of jazz. And just Roman Reigns, I've been thinking about what I would put in this segment, but I'm just going to say, game changer of the week's going to be Roman. Just for, doing the right thing, doing the smart thing, him being a cancer survivor. As the son of one myself, it's something that I take seriously, and I can't say much more about it. It's that Roman Reigns, game changer of the week, and I wish him nothing but the best. Have fun. Like, everyone who's in quarantine, it's like, I'm bored, I'm this, I'm that. Have a little fun, have some family time. I haven't seen my niece and nephew in a little bit. Providing everything work out, I'm going to go see them soon because they're just 10 minutes away. And the little guy's been bugging me to play Pokemon, so providing we're all good at the store, we'll go have dinner with them. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, who's going to replace them?" Well, if they do, that's another question for another time. Mm-hmm. Some were saying Braun Strowman, but he hasn't been booked right the past while. He just lost the Intercontinental title, but I wouldn't mind it, honestly. And then when this whole thing blows over, Shaun of the Dead reference, okay, go to Mum's, kill Phil, get Liz, go to the Winchester, and wait for this whole thing to blow over. If you've watched Shaun of the Dead, that's a good reference. And then, oh no, don't go to the Winchester, it's shut.
All right, well, I guess that kind of leads into the random question of the week coming from me, and that is, what is your favorite zombie or apocalypse-related movie?
Well, zombie genre isn't really my forte.
Okay.
Like, I don't like The Walking Dead. I do like the Walking Dead Telltale games for the Xbox from a few years ago. They were phenomenal. They were well done, but zombie, because I can't think of anything else, and because I just watched it last night, I think it has to be Shaun of the Dead. I like British humor. At the time, I watched it and I didn't appreciate it, but now, given context and given the fact that a lot of my podcasts I listen to are British, and I love their humor. Simon Pegg, and I can't think of his name, but he played Paige's dad in Fighting With My Family.
Oh, yeah.
They're in that movie. It's funny. It's funny. Just because I can't think of... It's because I can't think of any. Shaun of the Dead, why not?
Fair enough. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Game Changer Podcast. We went a little over, but you know something? I don't care. I just don't care. I'd much rather be spending it with my broski from another country than just be bored out of my mind. So, guys, thank you so much for listening in. You can check us out on all major podcasting formats. Just type in the Game Changer Podcast, as well as type in Wrestle Addict Radio, Kings of the Rings, Young Lions Perspective. Definitely check it out. It's absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. I will say this. I will give a cheap plug to the Talk is Jericho episode with Matt Hardy. That is just a fantastic interview that definitely people need to listen to. It's just phenomenal. The Ruthless Aggression podcasts have finally gotten their Vengeance 2003 review up, and it is just absolutely wonderful. Also, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that kind of stuck out to me. That I felt like I had one more thing that I really wanted to promote, but maybe it'll come to me next week and I'll remember it. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but the Adam Blampier booking of the Jinder Mahal title run, honestly, the first 10 minutes are all you need. If you can't go the whole entire 20-minute, half-hour deal, at least enjoy the first 10 minutes of the video. It is just something that I think Adam kind of talks about that just relates to so many people during that time. And in all honesty, after looking at it, it's like, wow, why didn't we think of drinking during that time? Because we were trying to have some kind of self-dignity. And, well, I will say this, I think a lot of people started drinking after SummerSlam of that year because Nakamura had his first loss. What the hell?
It's empty. Crap!
It's sadness. This is a sad face palm. Hashtag first sad face palm. Anyway, alright, guys. I plugged everything we can at the Legendary JF, at Real F in Game. Thank you so much for everything you guys have done. Thank you so much for everything that you continue to do for us. Going to end the show with a reminder that we are indeed the cure for professional wrestling. And just remember, from all of us here at the Game Changer Podcast, one day at a time, you definitely can change the game. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. It's going to be l'amazing. If I could spoil what we're going to be talking about next week. Fretz has already given me that weird look. I need to end the show.
They say there are tons of wrestling podcasts out there, and you can definitely find one that fits you. Quite frankly, truer words have never been said. Be that as it may, please be aware that we here at Wrestle Addict Radio are about to embark on a conscious effort to open the creative envelope, so to speak, in order to entertain you in a more contemporary and much more educated manner. Even though we call ourselves a wrestling podcast network, the keyword in that phrase is wrestling. Wrestling extends far beyond the confines of WWE and AEW, to name a few. Wrestling takes many forms, from the intergender moments going on in Impact Wrestling, to the nostalgia going on in NWA, to the creativity and the hard-hitting explosiveness that occurs over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can clearly see that wrestling is a place for everyone. We at Wrestle Addict Radio feel that you, the wrestling podcast listener, are quite frankly sick and tired of getting your intelligence insulted. We also think that you're tired of a simplistic reasoning of WWE is way too mainstream and AEW is for the marks, just to name a few as an example. We know that you, the wrestling podcast listener, are tired of having your opinions made fun of and ridiculed on big social media platforms like Twitter and Reddit. Surely the idea, reasoning, and lack of logic behind statements such as, "This sucks and I don't like it because I said so," is definitely passé. Therefore, we here at Wrestle Addict Radio have embarked on a far more innovative and contemporary creative campaign that is far more invigorating and extemporaneous than ever before. You see, we are responsible wrestling podcasters that work hard to bring you the outrageous, wacky, and wonderful world known as wrestling. Wrestling is for everyone, no matter what race, creed, gender, sexuality, and anything else that you identify as. Wrestling, if done correctly, is a unifying bond where we can all celebrate and collectively suspend our disbelief, if only for a moment in time, for the sake of enjoying ourselves and the enjoyment of everyone around us. This does not mean that we will always agree. Quite frankly, disagreement is a positive thing. It gives us an avenue and an outlet to learn about someone else's perspective, which might in turn challenge us to rethink our own. As divisive as our community can be at times, we have the power to make a positive change, and we here at Wrestle Addict Radio look forward to becoming the leaders in that change. If this is your first time listening to us, then welcome to a positive wrestling community. If you have listened to us before, then thank you for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is King Ricky Rose, your general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast.